Good afternoon, everyone. This is Naishad Gadani coming to you from Melbourne, and today is 180th episode of Career Care Package. And on today's episode, we are going to have fun, laughter, but also some, insights into human behavior, corporate behavior, individual behavior around this COVID-19 times. And to help us really identify those behaviors, we've got Vikram Poddar, who is India's first corporate comedian. And he's been on our show probably 3 months back, if I recall, where he talked about his journey from investment banker to a corporate comedian, and which is pretty interesting. And we decided to bring him back on as we are kind of on the very end tail of COVID-19 situation, at least in Australia. So we've invited Vikram to share his insights, observations of delivering, I don't know, hundreds of live Zoom comedy sessions to corporates, and his observations of human behavior in this time. So that's what we have asked him to come and share with us. Feel free to drop in your anecdotes and your stories, strange, funny, insightful stories of COVID-19 times on our LinkedIn live feed as well. So before we bring Vikram to the discussion, let's welcome Caroline Brown.
Thanks, Nation. It's great to be here. And I just put on a LinkedIn post, is it okay to laugh yet? Can we just, or has it been okay to laugh all the way through? I'm not sure, but I know it helps. And Vikram, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys. It's great to be back. Of course, I did have to wake up 2 hours earlier than I normally do.
I think you liked one of my posts at 6 a.m. your time or something. So
Yeah, because I was awake till that time. That's not the time I woke up. That's
okay.
why.
So what have you seen? You've been delivering a lot of, assume you've been delivering a lot of sessions during COVID. What are some of the stranger things that you've seen in terms of corporate human behavior? What's been happening?
I think we could start with what we just spoke about. Like you mentioned 6 a.m. now, and I guess a lot of people mentioned this on Twitter as well, that somewhere this whole state of lockdowns and everything that's happened, that people's biological cycles are completely shaken up. Like I was in Lonavala. It's a hill station near Mumbai, about a couple of hours away, and I was just there for the weekend with just a couple of people who want to get out. And they also mentioned the same thing, that during lockdown we were awake till 5 and 6 a.m. And I think it's something that perhaps it's the lack of the routine, or it's the stress that's happening. It's messed with a lot of people's. Ironically, I made some friends during that period who
with some vampires, or
precisely right, social vampires. If I can call them that. And we ended up connecting. There's somebody who I haven't met who's become a very good, like a sort of mentor, with whom I have a lot of discussions. Now the problem is I realized we sort of got used to having these discussions at 4 a.m. and I'm now trying to get my health lifestyle in place. It's like my physical health requires me to sleep on time, but my mental health requires that I stay in touch with these people even if it's 5 a.m. So I think I'm hoping all of us will move towards the same time together. So. The intern who used to work for me, we used to have phone calls at I think 3 a.m. And used to wonder whether this is a professional. I was like, no, this is the time I work. It's cool. It's been, it's almost as if you're living in a different time zone and you're getting to play with it. Sort of. And, so yeah,
I must say, I was just going to say, it feels weird because you can't, there's no boundary. Like during lockdown, you were at home. So if you didn't answer the phone, everyone's like, I know you're there. Pick up the phone.
No, that is true. And this is the other thing I was discussing. In the initial days, a lot of the friends, we did Zoom calls. And it was one of a bunch of friends of mine. But see, it was all guys. So after a while, I guess we lost enthusiasm for staying in touch with each other. Right? That could be one reason. But after that initial enthusiasm of connecting with everyone on Zoom and everything, now I don't know how it has with you guys, but I feel that after a while it started fading. Like, okay, this is not entirely a substitute for the personal meet, and now I'm feeling locked in a screen. It's like now, I'm stuck. It almost feels like a work meeting, even if it's a Zoom call with friends, it's like now I could be doing 5 other things. I'm so used to be able to multitasking that now this Zoom call is an irritant because I'm talking to the screen staring at a guy that I've known for years. So that's fine. I
Yeah.
know what it looks like, and maybe we can just do this over WhatsApp. Like, I think that was one of the things. So coming back to your question on corporate behavior, so I've had a lot of discussions with, especially folks from HR, over these last few months. And, one, of course, has been getting the work from home thing, working itself. Frankly speaking, I think it's been a staggering achievement. I was just thinking, we often think corporates are, they're soulless corporation, and, everything is so dehumanized that the individual person doesn't matter. And I kept thinking it was those processes which were dehumanizing that has made this possible. If this was dependent on one or two people, and if they were stuck in lockdown, we would be in serious trouble. So those dehumanized, process-oriented things are in some ways what has made a lot of this possible. So maybe there is something to not focusing that much on human intervention. Perhaps that we do need systems and technology. In terms of their behavior, in Zoom shows now, I would like to address this maybe two ways. One is the public shows, which we do for a regular public, and there it's been fascinating. It's been because while sitting in Bombay, I addressed a much more diverse crowd from much more different towns and cities, and I met some very amazing people. Some who you only see in shows, and like there's somebody who is in every show. Her background is completely black, and she's wearing one of those kittens. I don't know if it's a filter or a hairband, one of the two things, but and she's always like that. It's almost like there's an interesting person out there, and I'm fascinated to see what's the story and why she has that response. But we've seen a lot of repeat audiences, and again at night, so 11:13 p.m. stand-up comedy shows are starting. So again, it's a very nocturnal sort of situation. With corporates, it's been a different. So I think I had COVID in September, and I remember I did my one show. People I did it while I had COVID. And I remember my mother telling me, if you're unwell, you can let it go. I'm like, look, they've already paid full advance, so let's make this happen. So, and one experience I got from that was, I'm glad that I'd put in the work before. So it was a financial, client, and I'd done a lot of similar sort of, work with, the investment advisors in India, RAI. And luckily that was in January, the last physical show before the lockdown. So I was able to use a lot of content from their assets. So it was pretty much just, pop a paracetamol and just get that half an hour out there. So go and get it done, right? So I think I was glad about that. And companies have also come around to the online format. They really did. Initially, it was a struggle. I think once they figured it out, everyone started getting on. They were happy to do the engagements, whether it's workshops, stand-ups. So it was nice. I think people have sort of moved on, I think, and got adjusted to this. They were very clear that this is the online format, so whatever engagement and identity, whatever you're doing for the others, now you're more important because people are literally physically divided, right? Like, there's a part of me wondering how amazing would this conversation has been if we could have been sitting across each other, right?
Yeah.
A whole
I think
different
in a couple of years. Raj says hearing some echo when you're talking.
with me talking.
So it's sort of bouncing a little bit, I think.
1 second.
I think we're all having slight issues today, not just with
Okay, let's just turn off my
microphones.
so, I might just sweat a little bit, but well, we cannot let the sound suffer, can we, right?
Actually, our agreement was you're going to blame Naish for all of this, so it's.
All right, see you later, everyone. I think we were talking to Sandy yesterday, and she rightly pointed out that this is the year of HR. I think HR it's a nightmare. We were talking with the company that I work for, and they had to. We got 90 people working in an office, and they have to manage. Who's going to sit on which chair, and which computer are they going to use, and on which day which team is going to come and start to work, how many people will be there and everything. Now, considering that this is Victoria, we got 0 case in last 32 days, but still the amount of precautions that they have to take, it's ridiculous, honestly. That you got to have, disinfectant sitting next to your computer. You got to, wipe after you finish, doing that. For example, I'm the team manager for my young ones cricket team, and we've got a kit that we got to use. But every time when somebody uses the helmet or pads or bat, I have to come home and disinfect that, to make sure that no one's passing on germs or traces of coronavirus. But it's literally, I think we have all gone into an ultra cleaning of our home. It feels like, Vikram can understand. It feels like when a guest in Indian family comes, the home looks spectacularly clean. And somebody wishes that, if the guest is going to come every week, my home will look spectacularly clean for the rest of the week. That's how it is. That's the cleanliness standard that we are all, kind of aiming for right now.
You make it sound like a hostel organization. It's like, when the people come visiting, we're like, okay, this is. I don't know, in India, you want to look all samskari, right? Like, a very typical nice Indian boy, totally conservative, following all traditions, right? This is the whole thing that we put up, song, light, and dance. All the elements of a normal life were created very quickly, right? So that's. And it's interesting that we mentioned about the sanitizer. Like, let's be honest, even before COVID, we all had work colleagues where we felt we should sanitize the area after they left. Right?
Now we can.
Yeah, now you can do it without offending, right?
That's right. Yeah, you had those meetings where you walk out, you go, I need to have a shower. It's like you can go and do it. So, yeah, it's pretty funny. No, you don't give your guests temperature checks as they come in, do you?
No, that's the thing that we are planning to install now. They come in like a Star Trek thing. It just passes on that that laser that goes and say, yes, you're allowed to go in. I think I saw somebody who's designed kind of an artificial intelligence system that they can come in there, and once the temperature is okay within the range, then the door will open and they can go inside. I think this is some things is going absolutely out of hands. I've seen, in the suburb that I live in, they used to be, disinfectant team would come and clean all the bus stands where people sit and everything. And mind you, there might be one person sitting every day because there was lockdown. Okay, now it is just absolutely bizarre. But I think what they were trying to do is to generate some form of employment in keeping these guys busy. Traveling around all the suburbs and even cleaning the poles which has got the bus number painted on it. Right, so it is just absolutely fascinating.
No, I think I honestly thought that this was the time for the commercialism to go to another level. That in the time of the pandemic, a lot of it's like for governments also, it's important to be seen to be doing things, right? You do things to show the population, see we are doing something, and in that process you can bet that all sort of crazy things will be done. Okay, taxpayers' funds will also go on crazy as things. I would not, and that happens. I think in the world. That's the same with companies as well, right? They will, I think, sometimes spend things in like this whole Star Trek thing sounds the same at some point. I would rather have like that if somebody's emotions. If somebody's angry and filter just sends them back, right? I think that toxicity that you bring into the workplace can cause more damage than good, to be very honest.
Yeah.
I would much rather have the system to take that. And even here we are seeing, there's corona-resistant shirts being sold by Indian shirt manufacturers, if you can believe that, right? 99% corona-resistant shirt. And in a time when nobody is wearing a shirt, okay, and we've changed to that extent, right? We don't even wear shirts anymore. And everything is gapped. Like, okay, the normal, there's the turmeric, right? I think that's what we call it, turmeric. Milk is now being sold in, I think, 25 different variants. And everything has immune. Like in the year 2000, we had .com, during the .com boom where e-commerce and .com was being added to everything. Everything has the word immune. Yeah, we call it immune comedy. Everything is being sold like that. I think a lot of companies also overreact because you need to show that you're doing things.
Yeah.
And I think that's good in some ways. it gives business to people. I mean, I'm happy to be part of the series on using comedy to spread awareness, sanitization, so whatever. If that's something that helps to promote my, I'm very happy because I can tell you that from my own experience of going through this, and I think that's very one thing that has changed from the last time we spoke in this. So I would admit that initially I thought I'd gotten away quite quickly. Like I had fever for 3 days, and I thought I'm done with it. It's all right, life is cool and fun and everything. Then some funky things started happening. So I had a little bit of a hearing loss in my left ear, and I keep telling people I noticed that whenever my mom was speaking, the hearing loss was even more pronounced. Okay, so,
Is your mum watching this, Vikram?
Well, it's 9:30 a.m. She's busy doing it. I hope not. And then we used to have some, like chukkers as we call it in Hindi, like your head was spinning and stuff. I would be like rolling around here and there. And it was fun doing comedy shows during this period. So I used to do jokes about having COVID. And so, like, one of my favorite jokes is I used to put up an oximeter on my hand and I used to say that, when I was on vaccination, that if this falls below 90, I'll stop it. Okay. And then I would say that if you guys stop laughing, it will fall below 90. Okay, so that's, to me, it was like one of the funniest moments, during the show. I also remember, I would like tell people, I know you guys are applauding very loudly. It's just that because I can't hear, that's why I can't hear this kind of things. And I think that really helped in a lot of ways to also deal with, it's been my constant endeavor to tell people that fear and stigma on this disease is probably more harmful than the disease itself. That's something that I strongly believe in. I used to have breathlessness as well, which I now think in hindsight might be more from the isolation. 17 days I was locked inside my room, so I think maybe that got perhaps a bit of you get suffocated still. Because, as an Indian thing, what if the virus falls out the balcony window, will go sideways, turn 180 degrees and go into my mom's room. Okay, so that kind of thinking is related to this situation. And I remember I had a moment where, I think must be because of the suffocation mode that I was feeling it, and I saw the oximeter was going below 90, right? And it was at 3 a.m. in the morning, and then you start feeling like, okay, I think our time has come. This is our final innings, at this point of time. And I had these moments about, I think, 2-3 times, during the last couple of months. And I was thinking, a lot of the things that I would like to do for sort of check out this world, so to speak. And one of these occasions was when I was having a very interesting conversation with my nephews. We spoke for almost 2 hours. So my sister and brother-in-law also had COVID in Calcutta, 1,600 kilometers, about 2 days before I had it. And so it was kind of a pretty crazy situation at that point, all of us. And I would share some COVID-related humor with them as well, which I don't think went down too well with the rest of the family. But for me, it's like, hey, I think this is the best way, to sort of. So I also made a monitor called India's first COVID positive comedian.
Sorry, what was that? You also made a.
I'm sorry, come again?
I miss what you said just then, Vikram.
Yeah, I said I was a moniker of India's first COVID positive comedian at this point of time.
Okay. Well, we could change your banner if you like. So.
Look, whatever sells, right? I mean, that's what
exactly.
Use whatever you can, whatever are the tools and this thing. And I think that's the essence of comedy as well, right? To literally take what is, I would say, take negative and turn it into a positive, but those words have taken a very opposite meaning in 2020, I suppose, in this year, the whole concept of negative. So those puns on negative and positive were my first Instagram post during that period. I think we gave a good 6-7 months of jokes to play with. And in fact, since we're working with HR, I have one article that I'm supposed to work on for HR World. It's on the lighter side of having COVID. As an employee who has COVID, how would you use that and misuse that to your advantage? I remember the editor telling me that you could think of doing something funny on something like this, so go ahead. And that's an article that I'm waiting to write. So, go ahead.
Yeah. It's funny, I think about this period and I think, like, with the Stuff Nation I have done it, and when I look back, it's just like this blur of different talking heads. So, like, when I think back about it, it's like, oh my God, we've had so many people pass through this screen. It's like a speed dating LinkedIn live type thing that we've been doing. But yeah, and I guess I think like you might have mentioned, you know people by the shape of their heads, and that's about it. So
Yeah, that's good. So it's
yeah,
good to be
I
on a
found that
second date. I must be doing something right as a business.
sorry that.
I said it's good to be on a second date. I guess I must be.
Yeah, that's right. You've been called back. So
Yeah.
next you'll get the bachelor's rose. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Would this be the one?
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
I think in India, we used to have a series, Bachelor and Bachelorette. If Vikram might know them, there are a couple of, one was a high-profile politician's son
okay.
got married, and there was another actress,
Oh,
a
yeah.
TV actress got married. Actually, two TV actresses, got married in that kind of a rip-off of Bachelor and Bachelorette. I think what I know is that two of those relationships are no longer there. One I don't know much about the other one, but I'm pretty sure that that would also be on the rocks just because how the nature was it. But I follow a guy on Twitter, and he's a physician in US, and
Okay.
he posted a video, or he posted a comment about a video of an Indian ad which talked about a room freshener and it kills viruses. And he wrote down, "Great video, but wrong science." And he could actually make that out that you can't have an air freshener and kill viruses. Why would you then need this hundreds and millions of dollars to put that on these vaccines and everything? Why would you not give everyone an air freshener to be able to kill them? We've also seen in KB, I may not know, but we've also seen kind of a, what we say, an alternate science, medical science in India. And the guy, or the Baba, came and sold medicine for a couple of days, and saying that this is the remedy of COVID-19. And 2 days after, he completely did a 360 degree and say, "I never said that. I never said that. I said it helps with immunity. I never said that. I never said that." But that's the kind of weird stuff that is out there. Before we get Vikram, one incident that I'll tell you. Yes, we were in Jaipur on just before the COVID was about to start in March, and we were having lunch at one of Jaipur's, or probably one of the oldest place called Lakshmi Mishtan Bandar. And we got chatting with the owner of the place, because my parents-in-law visited them many years back. So we just started to chat, and my wife said, you know what, this COVID is coming along, and we're getting a little concerned. And then he threw his idea behind how to beat COVID. You take this medicine, this much percentage, do this and that and everything else. And you know what? After 2 days, they shut the whole place down. They shut. These shopping complexes, everything was shut down in Jaipur, which is. And then I told my brother, who is a doctor, and he said, yeah, he said that even the doctors, some of the doctors, are not really understanding to not to spread misinformation on lots of WhatsApp messages where they say, "Oh, do this and then it will cure." I think there is, in typically in in the context of COVID, I think there is lots and lots of misinformation, lots and lots of misinformation, especially in India. It goes like wildfire, isn't it, Vikram?
No, I can completely relate to that experience because while I was in isolation, okay, this is fourth day into isolation, the kind of messages people are forwarding. One was about 1 in 3 people are getting deep brain traumas. Your heart falls apart in 3 pieces. This was 4 days into isolation. I'm like, yeah, this is realistic. Okay, all sort of things were being sent. One sent me about something with autopsy showing that the lungs are turned to stone or something like that. I'm like, okay, this is. Well, thank you. I would have appreciated this instead of this, but whatever you think helps to cheer me up at this point in time. The best one, and given this is LinkedIn, I will not dwell too much into it. Okay, I'm just going to say that messages that said things like 1 out of 3 men get erectile dysfunction after having COVID. Right? So, okay, I just left them with this much. Well, okay, this one at least does not require a CT scan to test. Okay, so it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing the things people. It's like, I tell you, there's a reason so much comedy comes out of it. We are in terms of the things we want to do. I had a friend who started doing contact tracing. The first thing when he heard was, oh, okay, oh, you got COVID. Okay. So we met on 5th September. You remember we met at this point of time. I think like he was more involved in contact tracing at this point than trying to figure out what's going on. It was really fun. And I think it was very interesting. Like when I see the comedians react to certain things, also, like I think for them it was a little. It was, I think, a little jarring for me to see somebody doing jokes around this. And now the thing is, like, see, people might not realize, but there was one show. It was the challenge for me was if I put on the fan, the sound is so much I could not hear before I need to know what the other people are speaking so I can report. But if I switched off the sound, I would suffocate. So I had this very awkward moment before I get up, and then I did some jokes around it. But now when I think back about it, I'm like, okay, I have no idea how. To me, it was like, yeah, we got to do this show. It's the way to stay sane. So it was constantly looking for things to occupy. And that's one of the reasons I ran off to Manabla about a few weeks earlier also. So like this room that I'm sitting in right now, I was in this strange situation where I could not breathe in my own room. So there's in the entire house, there's a living room and there's an air conditioner, and I had to sit up facing it, and that was the only way I was able to breathe. Okay, it was like an air conditioned ventilator or something. So there's those moments, where it's like, okay, now what do I do? I leave inside my house and I'm calling up people, let's meet, let's hang out. And nobody wants to meet, right? Okay, let's go. And at some point, I want to yell at people. I'm the safest person to be with right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how people's, like I know you, Nash, I was thinking about that the other day. How many months did you spend in your family's apartment in India? Was it 3 months?
Close to 2.5
2.5.
months.
I don't know how, I couldn't do it. Just not be able to go outside at all. When they announced the 5 kilometre lockdown here, where we couldn't go more than 5 kilometres, I thought they said you can't go outside your house. And at that point, I just about lost it. I don't know how people do the isolation. I just, not being able to go for more than in more than 2 rooms would just absolutely do my head in, I think.
But I'll tell you, my cousin got COVID-19 just on Diwali day, and then my mother got it, and after 3-4 days, my dad got it, and then my brother now who's got COVID. So we got at one instance there were 4 people isolating in the home, and it is incredibly difficult, and specifically when you've lived so much close and your life intertwined around those routine activities, and it's been completely snatched away and you can't do anything with it, right? And then so my cousin would live in a room, my mother, my brother, or my dad, and then finally my my brother. So my mom and my cousin are now completely recovered, so they can now resume their day-to-day activities. But my brother is a doctor; he still has to be in 14-day isolation in home. Now it's incredibly difficult. I can't imagine, having, when we were living in the in 2 weeks quarantine in hotel in here, we had to put a real effort to make everything sane, right? Because you got 2 kids who can fight just because someone dropped an apple, right? They can fight like that. And then, to make sure that you got enough food, enough mental, you've got enough exercise. And we used to walk from one room to the other room for 1 hour every day, just to keep feeling like that we are okay, nothing's going to happen, it's not the end of the world and everything else. But it was. And specifically, I remember we had next room to us, I think there was only one person living that. she would have had probably most difficult time 14 days living. How much Netflix can you watch? How much movies can you really see? Because it is, I think we were allowed to go 3 times. Oh, sorry, once in 3 days for 10 minutes walk. And now, if you know, KB, the new quarantine protocol that they have here is that you cannot even go out of the room. So you have to stay in the room. There is no outdoor activity, everything like 10 minutes walk. They've banned that too, coming from next week in Victoria. So it's going to be pretty challenging. I can imagine, and that's why we used to get well-being call every day just to make sure that we are not we are still sane and we can still think logically around around our situation. But I can imagine. I think in India it is impossible. I knew that once my cousin got it, I think my brother would have also known that we would all get one after the other. But he said, "Look, Naishad, it's going to come. It's probably there are millions of people affected by it. They just don't know, right?
Yeah.
And I'm also going to get it. I know that sooner or later, few days later, he had it now, right? So, but yeah, I think isolation has, it's debilitating unless you have keep yourself, and that's one of the reason KB we started. I got intrigued with LinkedIn Live because you know staying in India, confined to the room, you can't go out and anywhere else. LinkedIn Live was the only way for my window to the world at that time, Vikram. Yeah.
You really should have asked for money to say that, Nishad. Okay, honestly. Okay, for a ringing endorsement like that, okay, that should definitely be a paid practice. Right? So,
We've been asking for months, Vikram, and they're just, they're not taking any notice of us. But anyway, no, it's been a lot of fun. But one of the things I think, just thinking about like the messaging on LinkedIn, is around this sort of relentless positivity type thing. I find that a bit draining, and it's always one-dimensional. It's like, I don't know. I just and these messages about the should posts. It's like you should relax. You shouldn't pay the shoulds. The posts that the instructional kind of posts that you see on LinkedIn is don't feel down, or that's what I mean. It's kind of, I find it kind of self-defeating. It doesn't make me feel any better about feeling crap at a particular time, or I don't find it particularly uplifting either. But
that's Caroline, because they don't care what you think. Those posts are, as long as I get the views and the traction.
Well, that is true.
Get real. As long as you like, comment, and follow, that's all I care about.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nation's got a whole raft of people that he follows. He's not going to say anything on that, but
if you need laughter material, don't hesitate. I've got heaps of people on my. I actually save their the links as well. I think I'll be running out of hard disk space now because so much material that I have got on the shoulds, and this is how you should behave and all those things. It just brings that. It's like those positive thinking things that you used to hear when we were in year 12 or in the university, and they're still banging on about it. And there are hundreds and thousands of people like that. And I say, the world has gone mad, or what's really wrong? That gets me. And then what I do is I share this frustration with KB. So that
3 o'clock in the morning, there's another one that pops up in my inbox, which I'm reading, by the way. And there was one the other day, and it was like, lots of people have been asking me how I do my hair and makeup, and I said to Naish, nobody ever asks me that. So, how long do you spend? Wait, no time. So.
Oh, that's pretty impressive.
I know. So.
Like, I would love how those calls would be, right? From, the authorities that, hey, you're locked up inside your house, you can't move, you can't breathe, you can't eat, you can't sleep, you can't think. How are you feeling today? Still feeling how would those calls?
Bloody hell do you think?
Yeah, how do you think? It's like if you're feeling suicidal, that too, it's like people are not thinking, that we need to find a balance between physical and mental health. That it's you cannot exclusively focus on physical, because this is going to go on for so long. At some point, we will, have to find. I'm saying this as somebody. That's what I'm saying. As somebody who's gone through it, who's experienced some pretty crazy symptoms, and I'm still saying that, no man, we gotta find a balance. It's not a one-sided thing that we can carry. At some point, you lose your mind. Like, just imagine living with your colleagues day in and day out, right? It's limiting. So, comedy strips around corporate. It's not just about how companies behave. Most of them are in fact focused on your coworkers. So it's like, we imagine being locked in with your coworkers. I think that's a lot like what being locked in all the time sort of feels like. Those movies like Saw and all, which are all about what happens, how people go crazy when they're locked in together, right? And I think at some point, you will see craziness come out in people. Like in April, that Canadians were howling at the moon or something like that because of, losing it in lockdown and such. I'm like, yeah, that is going to happen at some point of time, right? And when we worked with companies also in the online shows, the corporate shows were another, like fun sort of thing, because I could see the dynamics, interpersonal dynamics, which used to play out physically in person, between hierarchy. I could now seeing it play out over a Zoom call. Okay, so for me that was really interesting.
In what way? What would you see? Would like the over talking, or what would you see?
As in, it's a little bit of over talking, and then it's like. I was watching a Zoom call when a friend was doing a company meeting, and everybody went "Good morning, sir" on the Zoom call. I'm like, wow! I really thought we moved on from school, and this is still there in India, and it blew my mind, that we. And another fun thing is, I did at least in 3 of the shows that I did during lockdown, there was an employee who would perform after me, and then another in an office meeting also, the meeting is going on, then an employee would play a musical instrument. It felt like, how serving staff, at least in India, had to double up as photographers because, patrons were constantly asking them to click photos. And it's like, as an employee today, you also need to double up as entertainment, because it's like, hey, if your day hasn't been hectic enough already, now why don't you perform for us as well, right? We have this paid performer, but we thought we also have in-house employees. So let's cut down on that budget a little bit, don't you think, right? So.
You might be talking yourself out of a job.
No, I realized it's like I always tell people, the corporate life is so, it's hectic, it's stressful. People, I'm like, yes, I need you to be that way to be in business. Your misery literally sustains me, right? And if everything was perfect in your life, my life would be hell. Okay, so it is, I think, in my business interest to keep stoking these fires, of getting people to, sort of do things. In fact, there's one thing I didn't want to address today. So as I mentioned to Neshat, today is, it's my late father's, I would say, it's his birthday today on 1st December. And I think he's, sort of went through the whole employee life cycle stage also. He was one of those mavericks who would reach, very senior positions, but also not somebody who was willing to, be a sycophant beyond a point. It was difficult. And there's a LinkedIn post I've been wanting to write for the longest time, and it came as a reflection. This year has honestly been, that I realized one of the reasons I've struggled to be an employee is because I was born a boss's son. I saw this man from the very beginning. In 86, I was 3 years old. He had his kidney, transplant, and he started from scratch. And I saw him in charge of doing a lot of things. So I grew up with that. I grew up seeing a man in charge. And so it's like, even when I am a subordinate, it's not like I will not say yes, sir, in India. But the culture requires you to also have a sense of inferiority complex and insecurity. And you know what? If you don't have it, you can't fake that. And it took me a long while to realize that this is actually needed, So I think that's one of the reasons I've struggled. I don't know how to show that excessive depth. Like, I will not think that I'm meeting the company's skills. I will still meet him as an equal. I will acknowledge what he's achieved. I will call him sir if he's a client, but I will be not, oh my God, this person is so much better than me. I don't have that, And that doesn't matter in India, whether it's corporate, even in the comedy scene, or wherever for that matter. That culture is still there. We want people to sort of, my bap or salam, sort of thing, acknowledge you are higher than me in the hierarchy. And that to me is a concept that I cannot fathom, whether it's family, whether it's corporate life, whether it's this thing that simply your position in the hierarchy cannot dictate the respect you will demand, or what you think. The day you start demanding respect,
that to people who have succeeded in business from what you've seen? Do you think that there's still such a strong element of the hierarchy and the respect based on position versus, capability and that type of thing? Do you think that's still very prevalent?
I think it opens up more opportunities for you, but I would not say it's the only route. It definitely opens up. Makes, like we were talking about Abhishek Bachchan, the son of the superstar, Amitabh Bachchan. There's somebody who's chosen from. Now again, we don't know how much is speculation. From what I've heard, that despite as such, being a fairly talented, person, and is a pretty decent guy from what we know, and he still gets a lot of flack. And what I'd heard was one of the reasons is that being an introvert, he suffers, because he might not talk simply because he's not somebody who just generally have a conversation, and it is interpreted in an industry that requires you to give the salute as, oh, this person thinks he's so cool, he thinks he has an attitude, I'll not give him a role in my next film, he thinks he's Amitabh's son, you know what I mean, that and that perhaps is something that I think is changing in this pandemic, in this new online world. I say it's I know it sounds very Terminator 5, but the rise of the introverts, sort of thing. This is a world that introverts can understand and maybe even thrive in. So if you feel it's something that's been a bugbear, I'd say this is your time. We now with online things, there's other noise. It's like even in stand-up shows. I was just talking to a comedian. He called me after one peg. He clarified that he was drunk, but I'm glad he still reached out. And we were talking about the fact that he's enjoying online shows. I'm enjoying online shows because now you don't have the external jazz, you don't have the high production lights, you don't have those huge ass audiences, all of that, which means now it's down to pure writing and pure content. So there's going to be a lot of filtering. When I went out and clicked photos, it was just, I felt like I'm clicking them from a different perspective. When there's nobody, it's as if I'm walking through the archaeological ruins of a civilization. It was a very different, sort of feeling. So I think for introverts, this is, man, like if ever you've had a chance and people are open to connecting globally, you could not talk to your neighbor, but you could connect with somebody across the other, maybe down under, for all that matters. So I think, in fact, I did want to share one anecdote. So, in all this gloom and doom, we talk about COVID. I would say I did have, you can say, a mini sort of segment where I kind of went out with someone for a while. And our connecting factor was that she had COVID way back in May, so it was safe to meet her. So you can think of one of those poignant COVID love stories, sort of thing. She was the only person I was able to risk calling home, because of the risk to my mom, because she had COVID, right? So the first person who came home, 8 months, sort of thing. It lasted for 3 weeks, guys, or a month, I think, perhaps. I would like you to focus.
Did you have on your dating profile recently tested, or I've had COVID, or?
Sorry, come again?
Did you have on your dating profile recently tested, or I've had COVID?
Oh, yes, I've written everywhere. Proud COVID survivor. Okay, that's what I mean. It's there on my LinkedIn. And I think my Gen Z, friends and interns are like, tell me, dude, that just so. I was like, yeah, man, I'm going to milk this. What do you think?
Milk the suffering.
Yes, that I'm safe to meet, essentially, is what I'm
saying. There needs to be an acronym for it, doesn't it? It's like, I don't know, that you put like a little symbol or whatever. So
yeah, there needs to be, and in fact, that's one thing I did want to address. In what we are pushing in terms of lockdown, in terms of masking. I think somewhere the rights of the recovered are being missed out. Masks were being enforced as because you're a threat to another person. That's where the state maybe gets some right to enforce it. But when you're not a threat to another person, the state should not have the right to enforce it. Now I know this is not a very popular opinion. I'm sure I will have a lot of comments on this thing, but understand that liberty is something that can be, you'll not realize when it's completely slipped away, at some point of time, because government ultimately, it's like, see, it is not the highest common factor. It is the least common multiple, essentially, to even expect that what a large entity does will be the right decision for you individually all the time is just foolhardy. It's not like it's because the government is incompetent. It's expecting too much. It's not possible. So, we got assaulted by some crazed municipal workers when we were sitting on Marine Drive in Mumbai. It's midnight and we were the only people. There is nobody, we are no threat to anybody, and just we happen to have our masks off at that because I was struggling to breathe. As I told you, I've had breathlessness post-COVID, so I'm not having a genuine breathing problem. We have both recovered from COVID. I have my RT-PCR test certified negative, and suddenly these crazed bunch of people assaulted us, claiming to be municipal workers, forcibly took my photo, and we kept trying to tell them, dude, we've tested negative, we've had it, we're done. There was no, and things got very escalated, at that point of time, and just like bullying and intimidation. I'm like, this is not the way to, enforce this. We and there might be a lot of people. I might be judging. Look at this fool who's going around without a mask. Maybe somebody who's recovered from COVID, and somebody, while they might still advise that, okay, you should still wear, but then I'm like, there is a point beyond which you should enforce, and a point beyond which you will have to leave it to the person. You say you are still at risk of infection. Well, like, that is my choice. That cannot be a reason to bully and intimidate me into wearing something, right? Then we are going into a very difficult territory here at some point of time. And I think these are difficult questions which we will face, and we will have different. As if it's not like as if the internet has not given us enough forum for differences. But this year, on everything from lockdown to masking, these will be the new, battlegrounds that will emerge, and we will have to find some sort of middle ground. I don't judge anybody who's more cautious than me. I don't judge anyone who's a more cavalier. As long as, okay, I will, all right, you stay away from me. That's it. Then just clicking photos, look at this person who's heading out, and you don't know what's going on with them, right? And for somebody, going to a temple might be very important. You might think it's ridiculous. For somebody, if they don't have that cigarette, maybe they'll lose their goddamn minds. So the government of India was very clear when they opened. Liquor stores were the first thing to be opened up, okay? Because I think tax revenue, right? There's always a fiscal element to everything. So the government had its priorities very clear about what is the first thing that needs to be opened. Movie theaters have opened. There's hardly anyone there, which might be a reflection of the quality of the movies also, okay? Which I don't think the theater owners have thought about. Maybe if you had better movies, I would consider risking it.
I think
agree.
recently Adelaide had a mini lockdown because there was a pizza worker. Well, you probably just laugh at this being in India, but one person tested positive, and was an outbreak of 6 people in the entire city of 2 million or whatever Adelaide is. But instantly people rushed out again. After months and months and months of being told how ridiculous it is, instantly people rushed out to stock up on toilet paper. But the government, in their reassurance, was supermarkets and bottle shops will be open. So, it's the priorities again.
We've had some comedy shows here. People have done some live ones with, physical distancing. And there's a part of me, as a comedian, I'm like, what? I would not risk it, mate. I don't know. What is it? Like, wow, you think my comedy is so amazing, you're willing to risk, getting this? I mean, today I can do shows, right? For me, that would be the whole thing I would joke about. Like, okay, you guys are clearly more into comedy than even I am. To be, coming. This is clearly your passion, not mine, okay? If you're willing to wear a mask and come to me, it's like, hey, just watch on Zoom, man. I think I'm okay with that. I love that format. I have enjoyed doing Zoom shows, even the corporate show. Like, I feel I've found my groove in. Unlike most artists, I've actually found it easier, to be very honest. I think it allows me that space to come in and go as you want, and yeah, you get to see. Like, in one show, I'm performing, and the video will suddenly cut to somebody else's photo on the screen. Okay, so I'm now looking at some random person who's there on full screen. Right, it was damn hilarious. The multiple times that this happened, and it allowed me to, you can play along with it, right? You can, in an online show, it's even easier to deal with, issues that might pop up or things might go down. It's like, I can hop out of bed, do my thing, and then go back to being normal. It's like, I can spend most of my days being Clark Kent, and nobody really wants to be Superman. Okay, so it's like, now I have to just do it for half an hour, and I don't have to pretend. I can go back to being the guy who wakes up at 10 a.m. and then crawls out of bed again at 12 p.m. It's like, while my fans still have a feeling of this guy who's doing a lot of amazing things. Right now, that window has shortened. It's easier to please people in this virtual world. It is, what I feel, right? Honestly.
Yeah, agree, absolutely. Look, Vikram, thank you for coming along, and thank you for sharing your story of your dad, and how it influenced you. So we do absolutely appreciate you coming along, being gracious, and sharing some of your anecdotes. And we wish you all the best. Keep making people happy, keep making them laugh, and and we are following you on LinkedIn, Twitter, everywhere. Not on Insta. I'm not in Insta and Facebook,
Yeah.
so I won't. But I'll keep checking on you, and make sure that when we do something amazing, we'll bring you back on our show, because it gives us another perspective on life, and career and all those things. So thank you. We absolutely appreciate that.
No, and
Yeah, it's
I'm
been
really
absolutely fantastic. I had a bit of trouble hearing at the start, so if I was nodding and going, it's like I'm trying to hear. So, but thank you
guys,
so much for joining us, Vikram. It's been absolutely wonderful.
no, guys, same here. It's I think every time I've come here, it's always it's given me new thought processes and things to think about. So I think it's really great. And I'd just like to quickly leave you with one like it's my father's birthday today, and for anyone who's listening, okay, I just like to very quickly tell you that a lot of people will tell you opportunities are not available. They're only for the elites, and I can tell you this much: my father was the oldest of 13 children, okay, in a small godforsaken village, and a stepmom who beats all Bollywood stereotypes, okay. And from there, he went to the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, and BITS Pilani, and then when he had his kidney transplant again, he started again from scratch and built up some of the biggest financial investment scenarios. So I think, man, look, don't let people tell you that's it's good to hear, okay, but that doesn't get you anywhere. And that's what I've learned from my father's life. And for more such interesting anecdotes from a comedian who's mostly talking about serious stuff, you can also see my social handles. Instagram is at the rate Vikram Poddar comedian, which is very creative. But I have a blue tick, which people tell me is a cool thing. I get abuses for not having enough followers, but I have a blue tick, guys. So please, just if nothing else, follow me for the blue tick. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/Vikram Poddar comedian. As you can see, I did not come up with anything else. And my Twitter handle is at the rate Boardroom Comedy, which is BORED. It's a play on boardroom and boardrooms, which I thought you people might find funny. And I just like to say this time I came along to see and make sure that I don't miss any of Caroline's zingers, and I'm glad I could hear all of them this time. And Naishad, it's always been fun talking to you, right? It's a fun connection that we have. So, guys, yeah, write in and let me know whenever you want to do something fun. I've got my own LinkedIn Live. I just want to share that. I got my approval for LinkedIn Live. Okay, last week it just came in. So, hopefully, I think maybe I'll have you guys on the show next time.
Be fun.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's it from me, guys. Take care. You've been incredible.
Bye, everyone.